There we go. Welcome to our Easy Events Demonstrator Panel webinar. We are really excited to have you all join us today. Before we get started, a couple of things I want to cover with you. Well, let me introduce myself first. I'm Natalie White. I'm one of the US DDMs, and my area is the West Coast. Claire Langsford is also here with us. She's doing all the stuff in the background. She is one of the DDMs from the South Pacific. She's in Australia, so you'll see her pop up a little later when we do the Q&A. And then in just a second, I'll introduce our panelists. Before I do, let me kind of tell you what our agenda looks like today. We're going to introduce you to our panelists and talk a little bit more about the webinar. We're going to go over a few different ways how you can interact with us, right? Talk about that. We're going to kick off our panel discussion. After our panel discussion, so you'll hear from each of the three panelists, we're going to do a Q&A, and then we're going to wrap everything up with a quick poll. So stick around for the poll in the very end. We'd like to gather that data because it helps us know if you found this webinar beneficial and if you want to see us do something like this again in the future and what kind of things you're looking for. We decided to do this webinar because we hear from demonstrators all the time who are looking to hold an event for customers or potential customers, but maybe they're a little bit unsure of where to start or feel overwhelmed. They want to do something that maybe isn't huge, maybe doesn't feel so overwhelming to them. So we thought it would be fun and informative to do a webinar where we talk about how to hold easier events so they don't feel quite so overwhelming to you. It's not so important the channel in what you connect or how you do the events. We all know that as being part of Stampin' Up, that the connection's important. That's probably the most important thing, I think, about Stampin' Up. So it's not really as important how you connect, whether it's virtually or in person, but it's just the point of connecting. But one of the big ways is to do this through events, virtually or in person. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today because events are a really powerful tool to connect with people, current customers, past customers, and find new customers. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. You're going to hear about 3 different event types from 3 different demonstrators who do things differently, and I think you'll find it really interesting. So let me introduce you to our panelists, and I'm going to give them each a chance to just take a second and introduce themselves. We've got Rosie Gonzalez, Jessica Brigden, and Sharon Armstrong. Rosie, let's start with you, if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Let's see. My name is Rosie. I'm in Northern California. I have been a demo for, I think, 7 years this time. So, and there's a story behind that, but I won't bore you with it. I'm a mom of 3 sons and my mother-in-law's son too. I have a wonderful husband. We've been married for over 30 years. And I love what I do, you guys. I love the kit. That's what we're going to talk about today.
And then Jessica.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jessica Brigden, Jess B, Creative Cardiology. I am a demonstrator almost 17 years, and I am in Central New York. And it's just my hubby and I and our Stampin' Kitty, Ziggy. And I'm excited to share with you some fun business-to-business stamping ideas today.
Okay. And then Sharon?
Yes, I am Sharon Armstrong. I live in Kyle, Texas. I have been a demonstrator for 25 years. I have been married to my husband for almost 44 years. We have 5 kids and 13 grandkids. There you go.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So welcome all of our panelists, and thank you so much for being with us today. I know this takes time and energy and effort, and we really appreciate you taking the time to do this. For all of you who are attending, you're going to notice on the screen in the bottom, you'll have your chat function, which you're welcome to interact there. And let us know where you're joining from, kind of if you have anything to chat about, any things like that. But if you have a question, you're going to see the Q&A button on the bottom of your screen. It should be right to the left or to the left of the chat. And that's where you're going to ask any questions that you have that we may be able to ask at the very end for the Q&A. When you do that, make sure you put what presenter you're asking it for. So if you have a question for Jessica, put for Jessica or for Sharon or for Rosemary. So we know which one it's going to be for. And then also you'll see there's an upvoting button. So if you see somebody ask a question that you go, that's a good question, I want to know the answer to that too, just hit the upvoting button because that helps that kind of rise to the top. So Claire will see that and we'll know that's a question that we want to try and answer later. So watch for those 2 things, the Q&A for your questions and the chat for the chat. And then I mentioned it earlier, but at the end, we're going to do a poll. So stick around at the end because it helps us kind of gather information on webinars and your thoughts and things like that. So that's really important for us as far as gathering data goes. All right. Are we good? let's jump in. We are going to jump right in, and we're going to start with Rosie. Thank you. Now,
yes,
Rosie lives in my area. She lives in California, so I've had the opportunity over the years to get her to know her really well. And she runs just a really fun, I think fun is a great way to describe the way that you run your business. She focuses on, well, you focus on a lot of things. She does retreats, she does things like this, but you also really take advantage of kits. She does some with Paper Pumpkin, which I know doesn't apply to everybody since that's just North American, but specifically kits in general is what you're going to talk to us about today. So I'm just going to kind of give you the floor, talk to us about your kit classes, your kit events, and then I'll ask questions as we go along, if that's all right.
awesome.
Okay.
Okay. Hi again, everybody. Welcome. The weather is insane here, so I am hoping that everything is clear, and I will watch for cues from Natalie or somebody else to tell me we can't hear you or something. But let's see, I don't even know where to start. I absolutely love everything you see behind me. I love the Stampin' Up! Kits, and I think that sometimes we get a little bit nervous about possibly doing something that's a little out of the ordinary when it's already done and simply done for you. We get nervous about talking to our new team members, and even our more seasoned team members, because we put so much love and everything we have into our Stampin' Up! Business that sometimes, we have our cut and emboss machines, and we have our, all the tools and all the fancy stuff, the Stamparatus and all these things we want to show, that we forget something as simple as, I'm just going to grab one right here as a kit. And it says a lot to a new stamper, a seasoned stamper, to just be able to come and have a good time. Last Saturday, I had an in-person stamping kit party. And that's all it was. It was just come. Now I have an array of kits because I love them so much. So as soon as they come out, I buy a few, I make them, I figure out which ones I love the most, and I talk about them. So I had a bunch of kits, and I just told everybody, if you have a specific kit, go on the website, let me know by such and such date, I will have it for you. And for those who just don't even want to think about it, they just want to come and have a great time, come have, we're ready for you. And I just need to know that you're coming. And I just had them pick from what was on the table. We had a great time. Everybody ordered pizza. We had it at a pizza parlor. So it was no fuss, no mess for me. I brought my kits. I did bring them a little bag that was really cute. And inside of there, because I charged a little bit more, I was able to give them an adhesive with their little goodie bag. I snuck a catalog in there and a celebration. And so I was able to, and then I had them all for sale. After everybody picked, I said, everything is on the table. It's for sale. If you're interested, it's a pick and go. And you guys, it was a huge success. I got my hugs in. I got all the loving that you get when you're in person. But I also don't want you guys to underestimate the ability to have these, online. If you have a phone, or if you have a laptop or any sort of gadget that you do it with, you can just get on a Zoom, a Facebook Live, and do it with them. They just have to pick what it is that, they want. If they want to order it, if they want to come pick it up from you, make it easy for them. Have them love, putting ink to paper as much as you do. And I promise you, these kits are so, they are so cost easy, if that's a term. I don't want to say cheap because I don't like that term, but they run from like $13 to $25. And they're great. And I will show you guys, I don't know how you guys necessarily do your displays, but some of them have like no stamping. And I go ahead and I put this out there. This is a cute set. It's no stamping. So it was like $13 USD. Or you can, there's more seasoned ones. And let me grab this one. I put this one on our magnetic board. And I actually show the cards. They're going to get 9 cards. They're going to get the stamp set. They're going to get all the cuties, the envelopes, and it's there. So I also show that the magnetic board is super cute. I use the magnet boards for other things as well, and I really love them. Recently, I did a teenager party, and it was so much fun. I have all sons. So to have like girls, I was so excited. I didn't know what to do. So I started out with a little goodie bag. I did make the little tag, a little tag for them, and I put them on the bag. And then around the heart, I put their initial. So like if it was Leslie, I put a little L on there, and that made it special to her, right? You can go and give them a little gift depending on what your budget is. I had the birthday girl pick. So she picked the anchor one with the cute little tiny cards. And so it was over warmer weather. So they got a sippy cup, and I got them at the Dollar Tree. So everybody got a crazy sippy cup, and I got to see all the girls drinking their soda pop or juice or whatever they wanted out of these fun cups with their kit. Now, if it's more of an adult mom's night or whatever, I give them something that is, try and give them something that is stamping related, whether it's a runner, which we don't call it runner now, right? But you know what I mean, an adhesive or something fun. Recently, I noticed one thing that was missing. You know, our kids already have the block, they have the dimensionals, they have the glue dot, so they have everything you need. So I decided that for the next one, I was going to make them a cute little box. It's just a little plastic box. You can get it anywhere. I got these on Amazon. And I gave them a mini chamois.
That's adorable.
So with this mini chamois, I just cut it in 4s. And I showed them what a chamois was and how they could clean their stamps, because they're going to get a stamp set, right? So I had chamois all over, and this way they walked away with their very own little mini chamois. And I sold so many regular chamois because this is really little. It's just a little sampler of a chamois, but it keeps it in there. It keeps it nice and moist. So it was perfect. And I also always have little ways to upsell. You know, wasn't this fun? You know, who wants to host the next one? Shall we get together, you know, next month? Whatever my schedule allows. I try and never let them leave without them telling me how much they enjoyed it, or who they can bring next. You know, I have little things like if you have a friend next time, they're going to get, you know, a little goodie or a card or a little card pack or something that I can entice them to bring their friends. I think that we all started with some sort of a great story, and our stories usually start with mom with kids like me. I just needed a night out. My girlfriend said, it's a stamp party. I'm like, I don't care if I'm going to go lick stamps. I'll go. I don't care I don't know what that means, but I'm coming. And I was hooked. So whatever it was and however it started, that's how you want other people to start. And I just think that the kids are the way to go, because once they get their kit in their hands, they want to know what other kits can I do? Is there anything else out there? Do you do classes like this all the time? You know, can I invite my mom, my sister, you know, my daughter? If they have teenagers, they are a lot of fun. And the kids are great, because I've noticed that even girls only have the attention span of like this much. So it's perfect. Let them be as creative and as messy as they want with their kits. It's just having fun. And I will leave you with one more thing. I had this, this is my kit that I was featuring this time around. And I featured it by also showing that and you can do different things. You can actually have a little baggie. I used one of the cards and I put it in a cute little bag. This is an adhesive pack. It's cash and carry. So you're going to have if you have it there, you can have a bunch of these, or they can order them. It could be an incentive for somebody to host the next one. And you just tell them, you know, all you need is X amount of friends and you're going to get a cute little bag. or you could, I sell them at my events for $25. It pays for the adhesive, and I put it in a cute little bag, whatever that may be. And I have a little tag that kind of matches whatever our themes are. I do it with every single one of my classes. And I think I'm like the adhesive princess, because I sell a lot of adhesives, and it's a lot of fun to make the cute little, we're suckers for anything that's cute, right?
Or
so
a bag
make it
or
cute.
anything.
A bag is so cute. Yes, brand everything, you guys. Put your name on your catalogs, put your names on, you know, your cute little bags if you can. Make sure there is an easy way for them to get a hold of you.
Rosie, how much do you, when you, so you charge for the kit, and then you tack on a little bit extra, depending on what you're doing, you tack on extra. So you can do the mug that you talked about, or the sippy cup thing you talked about. You can do the cute little adhesive or the chamois that you talked about. Do you just kind of think, this is what I want to give with this, so I'm going to charge an extra $5 on top of the cost of the kit, or $7 or whatever it is? So you're covering your costs on all those things.
Yes. So what I did this time was I charged $30. And for $30, what they got was the kit of their choice. So it covered, if they got the $25 kit, you know, that broke into my, you know, my couple dollars, a little bit more. But I found that people don't really look at that. They look at what appeals to them. So it just depends. I do add on about $5, and that pays for the cuties. I will tell you guys, in my last class I had, and I only advertised for it. I had to move the date, and I only advertised for it for about a week, and I had 14 people come, and I had $800 in sales. And it wasn't meant really, I really needed some stamping time with friends. And so I just put it out there, and what you show them, and it wasn't just the kits, it was, everybody got a mini, they got a celebration. I explained about celebration. I told a bunch of chamois, like I said, and they are, you know, they're getting ready, and they're ready for the next one, you know, asking when the next get together is, and how many people do they need to do their own little private class. So yeah, I tack on about $5. I would say that usually is about fair.
And one of the things during COVID, and even since then, you've done some online, you've done some in person. You don't typically do them at your home. You have it other, like the pizza place, you've done them, or libraries, people can do them at, you know, coffee shops. When I've done things like this, my sister-in-law has a dance studio, and I've reached out to her, and we've done things after hours at the dance studio on a Saturday morning where she doesn't have classes. So there's opportunities to hold things like this, but you do it. Another thing that I want to point out that you do is that you don't spend a lot of time changing the kit. You don't go in and change the samples. You don't go in and you present and sell the kit as the kit. That's what you're selling. You don't make them more complex or anything like that. And I think that's a really important piece to keeping these events simple, is you keep it, you walk in with your kits, they have their kits, and that's it. You have your cute little goodie, you have your display table, your cash and carry stuff, but you don't focus on spending all your time making a bunch of changes to cards and samples.
No, if anything, they get a cute little, they see the adhesive packs, and the adhesive packs will have something from the kits. If I have, you know, I usually pull one card out of each of the kits that I'm featuring, if I put them all together, and those are the ones that I have out there, but I don't change the kits. For a couple of reasons. One is now you're having to teach, and they, you know, you're having to stop at each table to tell them how to make each card that you've changed. And when you tell them you're having a stamping kit party, they know that they're going to get a kit, and the instructions are there. I had 2 people that didn't even open their kit. They just talked and had a great time. You know, they placed an order, which I didn't really push for that, because this one was very much for me. I needed it. I needed to just kind of, you know, just get friends together and have a really nice afternoon. But they just enjoyed just talking to everybody, and they left with a bag full of kits. And I came home with a few orders. So don't stress. The whole point is don't stress about it. You have everything you need in this box, and that's all, that really is all you need, and yourself.
Yeah, I love it. I love how you've done this. And you, Rosie's been really consistent. This is something you've done for years now with kits. You've just been really consistent with it, and you've kind of built a customer base based off of bringing people in with these. And it is a great way to find new. You look at the teens you connected with. And I remember when you were doing that event, and, you know, just you're connecting with people who you probably wouldn't have. And this seems bite-sized. It's easy for people to do. It's easy for people who don't have a lot of space in their homes to take home a bunch of stuff. Everything is right there. And I love that about it. Wonderful. Rosie, thank you. That was great information. And I'm sure lots of questions are coming in, and we'll ask you those towards the end, but thank you for sharing with us. That was wonderful. Lots and lots of, I hope everybody's taking notes on all these, because there's lots of little tidbits I hope you're all getting. Okay, next we are going to talk to Jessica.
Hey, everyone.
So Jessica does something that, and I love how you did this. I heard this from Jessica's in Kate's area, and I had heard Kate talking about it. I was talking about something else, and she said, oh, I have a demonstrator. I know Jessica who does something kind of like that, and started talking about it. So I reached out to Jessica to learn more about it. So it's kind of, many of you have probably heard like cards in a cuppa or things like that. So that's when you go and you do cards and a cup of coffee. Oftentimes people will partner with coffee shops to do things like this. This is kind of a spin on this. But as you listen to Jessica share, think about, it doesn't have to be exactly what she's doing. Think of other ways that you could maybe tie this in, or maybe you have the opportunity to do it just like Jessica does too. But she has a lot of wonderful things you can share. But let's start out. You call it, I want to call it Crafts and Crafts, but you call it what?
So I usually call my event Cards and a Cold One.
Cards and a Cold One. That's what it is.
But you can go with Crafts and Crafts. That fits as well. In fact, I have partnered with a local brewery to hold my classes. And so I actually had this little t-shirt made on Etsy. I do crafts, little play on, we do crafts, and the brewery has craft beers. Yeah, so this is something that actually partner with them pre-COVID. I was, of course, looking for new customers, like we all are. And it just so happened that my mom had an old friend from school, and she and her husband in their retirement were starting a brewery. And they were looking to spread the word, bring in business for themselves. And my mom happened to mention, well, hey, my daughter does classes and she's looking to expand her business. And voila, something mutually beneficial for both of us. And so we started small, we worked on that, and it worked out well. So fast forward here 3 years. Of course, we've been all virtual because of COVID, and local businesses are hurting a bit too. And so in October, the brewery thought of me. They actually called me and said, hey, we would love for you to come back. Are you interested in doing a class for us again? And I was like, this is fantastic. So in November, I held my first in-person event in 3 years. So again, mutually beneficial. I was looking to reconnect with my customers, meet some new ones. They were looking to bring in business. So it was great. So my event's similar to Rosie's, but what I did, I looked at similar things in the area. I found that people are looking for an experience-based event. So they're not necessarily looking to, you know, you hear the word party or workshop and they think, oh, I got to go spend money. But when you tell them it's an experience, then they're like, yeah, I'll grab my girlfriends or, you know, my niece, my daughter, my sister. And it's just a fun thing that they can come and relax and hang out and do some crafts and have something fun to take home. Except in this case, they get to take home some beautiful cards. So I looked at similar events in the area. Paint and Sip is pretty popular around here. And those classes usually go for about $30. So I thought, okay, that would be a good price point. And so I determined what would be good value for about $30, and determined that if I kept the project simple, I could do about 6 cards, 2 each of 3 designs. And kits would be fabulous for this. However, I've found that people tend to RSVP at the very last minute. And I don't necessarily want to put out the money to pre-order, you know, and have a stash of kits, not knowing whether they're going to sell or not. So I kind of determine what products I have in my stash. I like to focus, I use a lot of designer series paper, and then papers that you can mix and match ribbons. You can use whatever embellishments you have. And worst case scenario, you can pull in a ribbon from your stash. Like this little ribbon, I think this is probably 10 years old, but it's just a little accent. So nobody cares there. Okay, so what I do is I would kind of determine what projects I'm going to do. I create a little sneak peek photo. Again, that's important. You don't need to show the entire project, because then if you need to tweak things, you can make those adjustments and people aren't going to, you know, say it's not exactly like the picture. So create a little sneak peek photo. I then create a Facebook event for this, and I tag the business as a co-host. And the advantage of that is that not only can I share the event with my customers, I can share it on my Facebook page, but the business then shares it with their customers, their newsletter, and whatever other social business groups that they might be in the area. So by partnering with the business, I'm able to get twice as much exposure as I would on my own. So that's a big advantage. So what I do, I create a PayPal link for the event. I do have a PayPal business account, which allows you to upload a graphic. So I upload my little event graphic, set the price, and then you can get a shareable link that takes you right to the payment options. The nice thing with that is people don't have to have PayPal. That link allows them to pay with credit, debit, PayPal. It gives them a wide variety of payment options. And so you can actually include that link in your Facebook event. So it makes it super easy. When they go to register, they just click that little link. I get an email that says so-and-so is registered for the class. I collect all of the event fees. So they come to me, again, like I said, I charge $30 for the 6 projects. So my costs are fairly minimal. I mean, you think you have like 6, you know, half sheets of cardstock, some designer series paper, a couple layers. I'll give them the embellishments. Like say I use the Milky Dots with my Regency. I gave them a little strip so they had a sample of each color. Do not just put embellishments on the table because they'll be gone on the first color. So I divvy out how many each person gets. Like I said, the event fees are mine. And then when it comes to the day of the event, people often purchase a drink. I may do the events at a brewery, but drinking is not a requirement. There's also waters and sodas and fun things.
Some people will get lunch or pizza or whatever.
Exactly. Pretzels. I mean, the advantage of that is I don't have to clean my house. I don't have to worry about people showing up early or staying late. I don't have to, you know, I just tidy up the table and throw out the trash. I don't have to clean ahead of time or clean afterwards. And when it's all said and done, I pack up the car, I get my pizzas to go and take it home, and dinner's covered as well. So quick and easy that way.
One of the things you do, and I think this is really good, as all of you are listening to this and you're maybe thinking of a business you could approach, you do this at a time when the business isn't busy. So you do it on a Saturday at 1. Yeah, and so it's a 2-hour event. You're there, you get a few minutes before 1, you leave at 3, you're kind of in and out like that. I think you're right. What makes this event easy is you're not worried about setting up. You're not worried about taking down or cleaning your house or any of those things. And it's really worked, like you mentioned, to be mutually beneficial with you in the business because you're helping them find new. One of the things you mentioned when we were talking the other day is about kind of connecting with your past customers who you hadn't seen in forever. Will you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's been nice. Like I said, I had not done an in-person event in several years. I have some that do not do social media at all. So this was a nice way. I did call those people and say, hey, I'm holding an in-person class. Would you love to come? So it's been great. I have people that drive an hour and a half just to come to the event. I have some people that live nearby. but yeah, it's been allowed me to reconnect with all of those people from all over. So they come to me from all different locations. I've met new people. So my classes have kind of been a mix. The very first one I did, of course, this is the first class since COVID. So we had 15 people. Now you could limit the number of people because I do have to prep these things, and depending on the size of your class, that does take a little bit of time. So you kind of weigh your options. If you're doing a kit, you don't have to prep anything, but you do have to pre-order those. If you're making your kits, you can make however you need, as you need them. But it does take a little time to put them together. So you could limit. The brewery that I do it with, they have plenty of open space and it's not a busy time. So they're like, sure, the more the merrier. And what I do is my RSVP date is about 2 to 3 days before the event. So create the event about 2-3 weeks ahead of time, get people thinking about it, really advertise it, share it, put it in my weekly newsletter. And then, again, remind them the next week. And then the week of, hey, events in, it's this week, 2 days left to register. So the first one I had 15 people. Of them, 7 were brand new to me, stampers, and the other 8 were returning customers. Some brought their sisters, one brought their neighbors, somebody brought their niece. So it's been a nice way to connect with all kinds of people. Yeah.
I love it. And then you also set up a table with kits, paper
Yes.
pumpkin or kits, so you can show those, and then adhesives, right? Do you do adhesives?
So similar to Rosie, I didn't think to bring it. I have a little adhesive package that I put together as well. So they let me do just a little tiny table. I put out catalogs and order forms. Again, I don't push the ordering because they're there just for the event, but you have them there because sometimes people like something to look at, while they're in between making cards. And so I bring paper pumpkin kits. I bring some of the kits collection, my adhesive kits, again, things that are cash and carry because people have had a fun experience. Some of them want that instant gratification, something they can take in their hand, and for $25 or whatever it is, they can carry it off with them and continue to craft at home. And then by just having catalogs and order forms there, some people do place orders. So at each event, I've ended up with over like $300, or so. I had an event Saturday. There was only 6 people that came because of different things going on, but I still managed to have my class fees and about $300 in catalog orders.
That's wonderful. I think you mentioned this in the beginning about kind of the economy and some businesses are struggling and looking to bring new people in a different way. And I think this is such a good way to bring people into different businesses if you can find someone to partner with. And I love that you've been able to do this. I just think it's amazing. I love that you connect with past customers. You had mentioned one of the really fun things about having your customers come to is they say stuff like, they'll ask to see a catalog or an order form or whatever. And then other people go, oh, I can place, oh my gosh, let me see one. I want to see that. And it kind of spreads.
And even other customers that are, walking into the business are kind of like, ooh, what are they doing over there? What are they making? It looks like they're having fun, and they'll come over and peek over our shoulders and you're like, oh, I didn't know you did classes, or this is cool. I have a stamping stash at home. So yeah, it continues to build. So the events have gone well. Like I said, the brewery reached out to me because past events had gone well. And now we're kind of worked it into about a monthly thing because it's working out well for both of us.
I think it's wonderful. One of the things also is that you try and keep your cards somewhat simple because you're carrying everything in and you're carrying it out. So you don't want to be coming in with bins and a big, die cut and emboss machine. And, you don't want to be carrying in all this stuff. So that's another reason why it's nice to keep your cards more simple. And plus you have a lot of new stampers too. You have people who haven't really stamped before, and this is a good experience for them.
Yeah. So I pack it all up in a nice little, in a kit format. Everything's tucked in the envelopes for each project. Like I said, I do like 2 each of 3 designs, but the 2 designs, I might just change out the color combination. So you've got one card in paddle pink and the same design, but in mango melody. So they kind of get with the program a little bit. They make one and then the second one is a little bit easier. So keep them, so they basically just have to glue everything together. I have everything pre-die cut and ready to go. And like you said, I do have a little supply list that I take with me. That first in-person event was a little bit nerve-wracking because I'm like, oh, I don't want to forget anything. But I have a little list that I can check off, make sure I've got my grid paper and my ink pads and pack my Clorox wipes and things, you know, for sanitizing some in between and things like that. And then I arrive at the event about 20 minutes early. That gives me time to set up everybody's little kit at their spot. Sometimes I'll make a little treat box too, like Rosie, just a little thank you, you know, party favor. And yeah, and that way you can kind of relax and settle in.
And they share ink pads, they share stamps. You kind of have those things that they share at the table.
Yeah, when I have, you know, 6, 8 people and it's easy to share around one. Again, I try to keep the stamping a little more to a sentiment, and I will bring a whole collection of blocks. I probably have, you know, 12 blocks that I bring that people can work, and a handful of sentiment stamp sets. When it comes to something like this, we kind of do workshop style, round robin, and everybody takes a turn. So while one person's stamping with Night of Navy, somebody else can be stamping their flowers. So it's a continuous flow, and I act as more of a facilitator. I'm not actually like sitting there making the projects with them. I'm making sure this person has their punch and that person's got the correct ink pad. I try to keep minimal colors. So this class, we had Night of Navy, Shaded Spruce, and like Petal Pink, because that way I don't have to worry about them
mixing
stamping.
stuff.
Yeah, mixing the ink pads. And if I'm going to have a larger class, like when I had 15 people, I actually have 2 sets of ink pads. I have my old style and my new style, so that works out handy. But you could always borrow from an upline, a sideline,
Wonderful.
you know, somebody nearby, and if you need an extra set of ink pads or maybe an extra punch or something like that, I have borrowed from team on occasion.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. If you have any questions for Jessica, put them in the Q&A, watch for those, and then you can upvote ones that you have for her. But as you're thinking about this, think about how this would work for you. If there's a business you know of you could partner with, there's somebody you could approach, and how you could do this, and kind of, you know, learn from what Jessica has learned from over the past several months in order to do this. So thank you so much, Jessica. All right, we are going to wrap up with Sharon. We're going to start. Let's pop her on here. Hi, Sharon. Sharon does something. I want you to, she does a mystery stamping. And this has really grown for her over the last several years. This has been a really amazing kind of business builder for her. But for those who don't know what mystery stamping is, Sharon, can you tell us, can you give kind of a brief overview of what that is?
Absolutely. Mystery stamping is where I give people clues to make a card. Period.
And they don't see the card. So you kind of get your clues, right? And they don't get to see the card until it's done. So you'll say you need a piece of cardstock this size, and you need a sentiment set, and you need, or a punch, or kind of those type of things, right?
Correct. Every Sunday, I email out the first clue. The first clue is basically gather your list of supplies that we're going to need to make the card. Cut your cardstock, score it at a certain, you know, whatever the measurements are, have your designer series paper, have a paper trimmer, have snips, have adhesives, embellishments, things like that. Every week it changes because every week my card is different. Then go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I want to back up and say one thing I don't think I said in the beginning is you do this once a week. And right now you're doing it on YouTube. When you first started, you were doing it on Facebook, and then you decided to kind of move it over to YouTube, and now you share it to Facebook. But you could do this anyway. You could do this through a Zoom meeting. You could do this live. You could do it on Facebook. You could do it on YouTube, kind of whatever works. But YouTube is what works for you. And that's where you're doing this every week.
Correct. I started on Facebook. I did it every Monday on Facebook, but then my you know, whenever I would email out that first clue, those who are not on Facebook would say, can't you do it on YouTube? Because I'm not on Facebook. And I'm like, oh, I don't know how this is going to work. So I'm like, well, we'll just try it. So then I switched it to where I was doing it on Facebook and YouTube 2 different times. So then I decided it was really consuming a lot of my day. I mean, every Monday, all it was mystery stamping from morning till night. So I changed it and I thought, okay, everyone can access YouTube. So I switched it to YouTube, and then, so they get the clue on Monday, and then I go live on, I'm sorry, they get the clue on Sunday, and then I go live on Monday to give them the rest of the clues to make the card. And then I make it fun. I make it interactive. There's a chat feature on the YouTube Live, so they can ask questions. You know, could you show that clue again? Absolutely. You know, I'll back up and show the clues. So my clues are printed to where there's one clue on a piece of paper, and I have 2 sets. I have 2 different cameras. So they see my face and then they see my hands, or the tabletop where the clues are. And so, you know, while they're working the clue, you know, I'm chatting and talking about different things. You know, they know a lot about me because I don't have anything to talk about while they're working on their clues. I'm talking about my dog, I'm talking about my nails, I'm talking about whatever. So we just try to make it fun. I tell them that there's 2 rules with mystery stamping. The first one is no stress. This is meant to be fun. It's a fun activity. And then rule number 2 is that they have all the pieces of papers and designer series papers. They have all the pieces to make a card. If they get lost on a clue or they don't like my clue, no problem. You just go rogue. We have this thing, we just say, just go rogue. Just make a card. So I started mystery stamping. I was doing it for my team events, but then when COVID happened, it's like, we got to keep people stamping. We have to keep people need something to do now more than ever, because people were at home, isolated, not with their stamping friends. And so that's when I took it to the public. And I'm like, well, let's just see how it goes. Well, it's gone very, very well. Everyone loves mystery stamping. I do have props sometimes because if it's a fun fold, you know, some people, you know, I say, I know what my clue means, but if you don't, this is what it means, you know. And so I have a little piece of paper, you know, I'll have the cardstock and I'll have a prop. They love the props. And some weeks I go, you're not getting a prop. You're gonna figure this out on your own. So we just have a lot of fun with it. Once the mystery has been solved, I show them my card, and then I invite them to share their cards over on the Facebook group. We have a Mystery Stampers Facebook group that anyone can join and just go over and put their cards in. The community that has formed from Mystery Stampers is phenomenal. I mean, those people are amazing. No 2 cards ever look the same, because everyone's using different colors of cardstock, different stamp sets. They may even interpret my clue differently, which is fine because there's no right or wrong way to do mystery stamping. So I feel that mystery stamping encourages people to be creative with the supplies they have, which I think is huge sometimes, you know. I think people buy things or have things and then they get stuck. They don't know what to do with them. So mystery stamping helps them pull out those products and then use them in a different way than what they would think.
How, if someone hasn't done this before, how would you recommend someone get started?
Make a card, figure out basic instructions. You can't assume that anyone has anything you have. They may not have your punch, your dies, your stamp set. So you be very generic in writing up clues. And then you invite people to come. I know that, you know, like you mentioned, you could do it on a Zoom. You could do it in person. My mystery stampers have teased and said they're all going to show up in my yard and set up tables, and I'm going to do mystery stamping in my yard. I'm like, okay, we can try it. It can be done anywhere because you're basically just telling people basic steps to make a card. So they already have all the ingredients. Your second clue might be adhere the 4-inch by 5 1/4-inch designer series paper to the card front with adhesive. So you're just going to make a card. That's the first thing. Keep it relatively simple. Don't have a whole bunch of layers, but have a couple so that it gives them something to do. My clues are generally between 10 and 12 clues to make a card. I keep it generic as far as the greeting stamp. I might say have a long greeting stamp, or have a greeting stamp that will fit on your 2-inch by 3.5-inch piece of basic white paper, kind of thing. But otherwise, keep it as generic as you can, and then advertise your event, whether you're going to do it on Facebook, whether you're going to do it on YouTube, or in person.
Now,
I would love to do one in person. I think it would be fun.
Oh my gosh, you do let me know. I'm coming.
Okay.
One of the things that you talked about when we were chatting the other day was about how this has helped you build your customer list. Will you share a little bit about that, how you built your customer list through this? I think this is so smart because oftentimes we hear people say, I do all this stuff online, or I do, my Facebook Lives, I do this, but how do I turn these people into customers? How do I get them on my customer list? And you've figured this out, and it's simple, but you've figured it out. Would you mind sharing that?
Absolutely. It's very simple. I do encourage them, if they want to get that first clue, to join my newsletter below the video, because that newsletter goes out every Sunday at 3 p.m. Central, where they're going to get that first clue. And then they have over 24 hours to get their supplies ready. I do post it in our Mystery Stampers Facebook group. I post that first clue, but I make a big joke about it. I go, if you're like me, you can't ever find anything on Facebook again when you're looking for it. So best thing to do is just join my newsletter. It has grown my newsletter by a lot of people, where that newsletter during the week, they're going to get other emails that talks about the newest kit that's available from Stampin' Up, talking about Celebration. They're going to be exposed to other things besides just the first clue for mystery stamping.
I just love how you've done that. I think that's such an important piece that is so easy to miss. But if you don't, you have all these people attending mystery stamping and they have no other connection to you, but you've created that connection by pushing them towards your newsletter. Now, for anyone who's listening, it doesn't necessarily have to be your newsletter. You could say, join my Facebook page, my customer Facebook page, join this or that, whatever you want it to be. But for Sharon, it's worked for her newsletter and has grown her customer base immensely because you're filtering everybody to one place. And then you're able to kind of talk to them about other things going on, which in turn helps you with your sales and connecting with these customers and all of those things. I think it's just genius. I think this is so fun. And I love how you've done this. And, it's just, it's one of those things that is simple for customers. Like you mentioned, they can use the products they have on hand. You also show products there. You show different things there to help encourage sales because you're showing them some different things throughout it. And it's just fun. And, you said it in the beginning, you want to keep people stamping. And I think that's what it's all about, right? How do we keep our friends and family and customers stamping and using their product and going through it so then they can kind of get new product, and it kind of keeps that going. But love it, Sharon. So fun. And I can tell you have a big fan base because I keep seeing comments pop up that say,
there's a lot of mystery stampers. There's a lot of mystery stampers on tonight. I keep seeing the chat go, I love mystery stamping. I mean, it has, Stampin' Up! Invited me to do something at the beginning of COVID. I think it was like March of 2020 when we introduced mystery stamping to other demonstrators. And I encourage everybody to give it a try because we're all making cards, and you can certainly, create those clues. but I will tell y'all, they do like it when you don't show them the card till the end. If you show them the
and
card
that
up
is
front,
that's a
that takes
tip from
away
a
the
pro.
mystery.
Yep, you show them it in the end. And for, you know, if you want to try this with your team, or try this with your family, or try this with a smaller group, and it kind of you get the hang of it, and then you can kind of build from there. But it's so much fun. Thank you, Sharon, for sharing. I'm going to pop kind of over and let Claire, hopefully you have service. Let's see if we can hear you. Claire's been gathering questions for us from the things from like Q&A that have been coming in. And I'll just kind of turn it over to you and let you ask these questions. But thank you again for everything you all have shared tonight. I could go on forever. I've been watching the time and trying to keep you all short, but I could have talked to each of you twice as long with a bazillion questions. So Claire, let's see what you've got. What do you got for us, Claire?
There are some absolutely brilliant questions being asked. Thank you all so much. We won't be able to get to all of the questions, but we will try to address as many as we can. First question over to Rosie. Quite a few questions that related to teen events and marketing or advertising to teens, and what advice would you give about approaching or marketing to teenagers to have those events?
Well, for me, it was really easy because I talk about it and I love kits and I use them everywhere. You can go to a coffee shop and sit down. You can talk to, if you have an existing list already, you can open this up. The first one that I did was actually my hairdresser, and her daughter was turning 13, and I would have never thought about it. And she said, my daughter is very artsy. She loves that sort of thing. And it was kind of a surprise, to be honest. So don't underestimate the power of asking. If there's anybody out there, if you have, now, if you know, I have friends that also work in the junior high and high schools. So if they know of it, if you have teacher friends, those are great. Or if you're a teacher, I know that there's some teachers on here. Don't underestimate the power of asking. Just ask. I have a kit class. Anybody interested? You know, do you have, or I'd love for your daughter's sons. I have a few husbands that come to my classes. So don't miss out on the sons. I mean, crafters are crafters and artists are artists.
Awesome.
Yeah. Sure.
Next question over to, oh, sorry, did I miss something?
No.
Okay, good. Next question over to Jessica. Jessica, how do you manage the adhesives? Are the adhesives in the pack themselves, or do you have them made available?
So I do have multiple Stampin' Seals. So for a class, I might have 4 dispensers. I might have 4 Tombow green glue. And then I'll have a pack or 2 of dimensionals. So I generally plan for every 2 people to share the bone folder, the tape runner, and their dimensionals. So I have one for about every 2 people. The adhesive kits, like Rosie, I went and grabbed mine. I just have these cute little bags. So it's something you can order on Amazon. I picked these up at Dollar Tree. And then Rosie makes cute little tags. I got a little charm. It's had a little ribbon on it. And it's basically whatever you can fit in your bag. Honestly, another demonstrator, Lisa Brown, actually shared this idea with me. So in my kits, I do include the Stampin' Seal. I include the mini glue dots. I include all 3 packs of dimensionals, your full size, your mini, and your black combo pack. I've got tear and tape in here. Yeah, I've got it so full that I can barely keep it open in here. But it's whatever you can cram in your bag. And then, you know, like I ordered to bulk it up a little bit. I got some of the little adhesive erasers off Amazon because we don't sell those anymore. But basically add up, I'm sure Sharon and Rosemary do the same thing, add up the cost of the kits, add your, you know, like your tax and your shipping. And the way I do it, basically, because my bag was very inexpensive, they're getting the bag and maybe the little erasers at minimal cost. They're getting those for free, but they're getting the whole package. And I do make it so basically it's a few dollars less than if they were to, you know, pay the $7.95 shipping. online, you know, because they're paying 10%, you know, or 11%, whatever it is now. So they do get a little discount. Plus it's there. They can take it with them. So they have that instant gratification.
Love that. Jessica, also, when you're having a venue offsite, how do you plan or prepare? Like, how do you pack for it so that you're not taking too much? I know that you have a checklist and there's been a lot of requests for those. Yeah. So we'll see if there's a way we can share that. But
I'll like, I can share that with you. Yes. Thankfully, I have a team member who is a very list-oriented person. And when I was chatting with her before my event, I was kind of expressing my anxiety. And she's like, I'll send you my list. So I have her list. My number one thing on the list, which I didn't think of originally, have an attendance sheet, because I'll have like a list of everybody who's paid and registered for the event. Print that out and take that with you so you can check off who each person is. And that way you can also ask their permission, get their email address so that you can notify them of the next event. There's nothing worse than missing that opportunity and being like, they had a great time and now I don't know how to contact them again. So number one, make sure you have an attendee list there too. But I can pass along the rest of the list as well. And I forget what the other part of the question was, but I do. I
minimizing on the amount that you pack or take. Like, how do you make sure that you're not taking too much?
Yeah, so I pack all of the kits in a little cello envelope. So amazingly, I have 6 cards in here. They are tucked inside. Somebody asked if I include envelopes. Absolutely, use your envelopes to store your supplies. I do pre-die cut. I do pre-emboss because this is simple and you want to move people along. Again, this is an experience class. It's not a necessarily encouraging them to buy class. So you want them to have everything as easy. They just stamp, punch, and assemble. And then I include everything. I have a 31 deluxe utility tote. That's like the biggest bag that I realize that's not available in all markets, but just an open tote. I stick my catalogs flat on the bottom. I have a plastic storage bin from Dollar Tree or Container Store, whatever you want to use, that I can then put my kits in. I have another little bin that sits in the side that holds my ink pads, my stamps, my adhesives, and all of that. And so everything tucks in nice and tidy. And so I just take one big tote, somebody opens the door for me, and then I can take it in.
Awesome. Thanks, Jessica. Sharon, over to you. How, like, if you were just getting started in doing mystery stamping and you want to advertise this, share this, get it out there, what advice would you give to get people to start watching your videos and your mysteries?
You know, I think it's going to depend on if the person has an email list. If you don't have an email list, it's okay. You can start that. I would create an event on Facebook and just advertise it there. You know, that's where I started, was on Facebook. You can, if you create it as an event, then more people will see it. And then you can invite them. I believe, though, you might have to have a group if you do an event. I can't remember. I don't think you can do an event on a business page. So it would just be the event would actually be held in a group. So you would say, you know, whatever your stamping group's name is or whatever, you would just name that group and then hold the mystery stamping in the group. And then I would just tell everybody, you know, hey, you know, come on over to my group and join our mystery stamping, and the more the merrier. Invite a friend, bring a friend. So yeah.
Love that. Now, I'm conscious of the time, but one question then for each of you. What advice, like what would be your number one tip for other demonstrators looking to hold an event, one of their own events, in an easy way? What is your number one tip? Rosie, I'd love to start with you.
Claire, you always start with me. I'm teasing her, but you guys just do it. Grab a demonstrator, grab your upline, your sideline, grab somebody that you can, if you get nervous, my real advice is just do it. If you guys don't know anybody, call me. I will walk you through it. I will do it with you. I may not be able to be there in person, but you know, have the, I think it takes courage, but you know what? It's so much fun and it's so rewarding. So ultimately, just do a Nike thing and just do it. Just go for it. And you guys will love it as much as I do.
Love that. Thanks, Rosemary. Jessica, over to you.
I would say pick a date so you have the time constraint, and then go and approach. We all have the local coffee shop or diner or someplace that we frequent. So approach somebody, maybe you know the owner or the manager, a business that you're familiar with that you actually purchase from, because that way they know that you're already a customer. They're not going to be mean to you because you're their customer. So I was thinking just a couple other things. Maybe a brewery is not your thing. We talked about coffee and cards. A couple others I had written down, a sip and stamp, maybe a class and a glass. You could do pizza and paper crafts. You could do a pampered stamper event at a salon even. So think outside the box a little bit and approach someone.
Beautiful. Thanks, Jessica. Sharon, what about yourself?
Super fun. Oh gosh, I mean, I was going to say pick a date and time kind of thing that would work for you, but I still think that is important, because you want to pick something. If you're going to do this regularly, if you're going to do mystery stamping on a regular basis, try to pick a time and a date that you could be consistent with, because if you well, this week we're going to do it this time and next month we're going to do it at that time, people don't know when and where to find you or where the event is. So be consistent where you're going to have it and when. So I'm always on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. That's just, my people know that. And so that's I think that's what I would say. Just consistency is your best thing.
Love that. Thank you, Sharon. Okay, that is about all the time that we have for our Q&A. Thank you, Sharon and Jessica, for sharing with us.
Sure.
Back to you, Natalie.
I just think I've talked to you before this, and I still feel like I just loved all the information that you shared. It was absolutely incredible. And I love that these are all three really different ways of doing it. Your approaches are all different. And I think as people listen, they can take something from it and put their own little spin on it too. But you guys you're all just amazing women. And I just feel very grateful to have been able to spend an hour with you and be able to share some of the things that you're doing. So thank you. We want to wrap up with a challenge. Claire's going to share that for us. Here's your challenge, okay? In the next 2 weeks, we challenge you to do one thing, doesn't matter if it's big or small, that will help you hold an event. And we want to remind you to keep it simple. So there's your challenge, a simple challenge, right? Do one thing, big or small, in the next 2 weeks to help you hold an event. We are going to pop up what's the word I'm looking for? Poll, not a poll. Do we call it a poll?
It's a poll.
Yeah,
so you should.
That sounds funny in my head for a minute. Yeah, it is a poll. If you would all take a minute to answer this is really beneficial to us. This helps us know if this webinar was helpful to you, what you took away from it, what ideas you have for us in the future. We want to be able to support you in things like this. Holding webinars gives us a chance to provide you with some really timely information and connect you with demonstrators who are doing some really amazing things. So take a second to fill that out. I want to, again, give a special thanks to all of our panelists today. A thanks to Claire. I hope that everybody could hear us and that our weather held out. On my end, everything looked okay. So I hope everything looked okay for the rest of you. And thank you so much. I'm going to end the recording, but we will keep this open for just a minute.